top of the morning to everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Um, the readings I picked for today kind of incorporate a little bit of the Irish, quite a bit of the Native American, and because we're coming into spring, a little bit of the equinox as well. So I hope you enjoy this. The first reading I have, which is a little long and wordy, is from the book Walking on the Wind, Cherokee Teachings for Harmony and Balance by Michael T. Garrett. Um, Following the sacred trail. In our way of life, with every decision we make, we always keep in mind the seventh generation of children to come. When we walk upon Mother Earth, we always plant our feet carefully because we know that the faces of future generations are looking up at us from beneath the ground. We never forget them. That's from Oren Lyons, faith keeper of the Onondaga Nation. And Michael says, I do not remember the first time I heard the saying, if you can find the end of a rainbow, you'll find a pot of gold. It sounded strange to me at the time, but it was nonetheless something that I tucked away somewhere in the back of my mind. After all, one never knows when one might need a pot of gold. However, as a child, it was mainly the mystery of the whole thing that struck me. I do not remember the first time I actually saw a rainbow or where I was, but I do know that its quiet beauty struck my heart with such awe that it touched something deep within me. Just seeing a rainbow catches you quite off guard and somehow just makes you stop and look and wonder. I suppose it's like finding a pot of gold, although I never have had the pleasure. But I am fortunate to be able to say that I have been given many gifts during my time on Mother Earth, and seeing a rainbow has been among the more cherished of them. It is sacred. And just as the rainbow is sacred, so is my life. Yes, my life is sacred to me. That may sound a bit arrogant at first, but only because of how it sounds rather than what it means to me. It is interesting when we begin to realize what we consider gifts and what we expect, what we consider privilege and what we consider obligation. For example, my mother was not obligated to give me life, and yet she did. I remember once when I was home for my birthday, I noticed that my mother was crying to herself. When I asked her why, thinking that something had happened and maybe she needed my help, she simply responded, I was having you right now. At first, I didn't understand. Then I suddenly realized that she was reliving the moments leading up to my birth, and this was still such an emotionally powerful experience for her, even after all these years. She looked upon me as a gift and treated me as such. And I, in turn, have always looked upon her gift of life to me as nothing less than sacred. I tried to live my life with this attitude. I live my life this way because I choose to live my life this way. This is my medicine, and for me, it is good medicine. It holds power for me, not the power of control, but the power of perspective. To look upon all things as sacred and purposeful is no small task for us human beings. We have been blessed with the intellectual and spiritual capacity to transcend both time and space in a single thought. Yet there are times when we human beings do not choose to look behind our noses and walk right into a tree that has been standing there plain as day for possibly hundreds of years before we arrived. If Uwali, eagle, flying high, looks no further than the end of her beak, then she misses the beauty of the great expanse that exists above, below, and all around her. The eagle, who has the ability to fly but chooses not to recognize her place in relationship to the greater circle, loses that sense of place and may become lost. How might it feel to be floating high above upon the wind, not knowing where we are or where we are going? Some might consider a welcome opportunity, but for how long? When we float high upon the wind, or when we walk upon the ground, can we recognize the forest for the trees? Can we even see the trees there before us? let alone the vastness of the forest for which they are a part. Consider people's fascination with the past. This is fascination with history, legends, stories, things from the past, and things that remind us of the past. What makes certain pictures or special gifts we received once so important to us? Are we simply burdened with too much free time, or is there a sense of connection that gives us our lives meaning? I have long wondered what really is at the end of a rainbow. Quite honestly, I have never checked, but I do wonder. So every time I see a rainbow, I just stand there in awe of its beauty and immensity and whisper a small prayer, thanking the rainbow for being willing to share its beauty with me. And something about the sight of it moves me from within, as if it were touching my spirit, and a deep sense of calm comes over me. I look upon the very sight of the rainbow as a gift, just as I look upon the sight of an eagle as a gift, and the squirrel, and the ant, and the rock, and the little dandelions, and the rain, and all living beings in the circle of life. I know that a rainbow is not a rainbow without all of its colors, just as the sacred web of life cannot exist without every one of its strands in harmony and balance. We usually don't look upon a rainbow and think about how much prettier the red looks than the blue, or how much nicer the whole thing would be if it were curved in a different way or not curved at all. We usually look upon the rainbow as something of great beauty in and of itself, or we may just ignore it almost altogether. The point is, when we look upon something as a gift, we tend to accept it as it is, to appreciate it as it is, and it just makes us feel good. There is a sense of connection. It touches something within us and somehow grants us sacred moments of harmony. And then the little short thing that I have is advice from a rainbow. Live a colorful life, be an inspiration, bring unexpected joy, see beauty in life's curves, be someone to look up to, live in the moment, reflect your true nature. My thoughts for today.
I read this little tidbit on social media, and I do want to say I hope Ken is within earshot, Lynn, because we spoke a while ago about how we're a spiritualist church, but we very rarely speak about spiritualism or being spiritual. So that's pretty much what this is about today. So I read this little tidbit on social media, and there was something about it that just resonated with me. It was titled "Religion versus Spirituality," and it gave 7 points of comparison, which I'll share with you. Religion worships God, whereas spirituality encourages oneness with God. Religion says God is outside of you, whereas spirituality says God is within you. Religion tends to separate people who have different beliefs, whereas spirituality unites people regardless of their beliefs. Religion teaches people to be afraid of hell, whereas spirituality teaches people to create heaven on earth. Religion often teaches based on fear and restriction, whereas spirituality is based on love and freedom. Religion feels like being a single drop in an ocean, whereas spirituality feels like being the entire ocean within a single drop. Religion is based on others' experiences, whereas spirituality is based on your own personal experiences. And please don't misunderstand, I'm not bashing other religions, because at the end of the day, we all need to find comfort where it is best where it best suits us, to find a place that brings us peace, a place where we can strengthen our faith and feel good about our connection and our lives for when our time comes to leave this physical existence. Hopefully a place you can call home, surrounded by people who truly care about you and support your spiritual growth. And for me, it's right here. And perhaps it is for you as well. Here I am supported in my growth, and growth is important. It's not about conforming, following, or even believing what someone else tells you. It's about your own personal growth and discovery, growing your connection to spirit on your terms in your own time. understanding that you have purpose and your life has meaning, a place where you can ask the big questions and hopefully find answers. That to me is what makes this place so special. Not only the tantalizing conversations, but being open to the variety of views that are often shared. No ridicule and no judgment. All thoughts are welcome. I was not raised religiously at all, and although I attempted to reach out by attending temple or church, I just never felt a connect. I pretty much came into spiritualism a clean slate. Although I always had a strong faith in God and spirit, I think perhaps having the benefit of being a psychic and medium my entire life meant that I never questioned the existence of a higher power or having spirit close to me. I always felt connected. But as a little girl, I heard people say they go to church to pray, and I wanted to learn how to pray too because I thought that you must be special to be able to do that. Then, as I got older, I realized I had been praying all along. I was already talking to God in spirit. There was no special trick. Bringing my hands together didn't cause a bat signal to go off, alerting the heavens I had something to say. I laugh at it now, thinking there was a right or a wrong way to talk to God. All of my thoughts and intentions were a conversation with God all along, and in my heart, I knew He heard. And after a near death experience in my 20s, I went from believing to knowing that I wasn't alone and that I had purpose. I do my best to fill that purpose right here at our center, as well as outside of those walls. I'm far from perfect, but kindness and compassion are a daily practice for me. My spirituality is exactly why I became a spiritualist minister. But I didn't discover spiritualism and adopt their belief system. I already had my beliefs and discovered a perfect fit in spiritualism. It felt like everything my entire life led me to be exactly where I am. When people used to ask me what my religion was, my response was the ever so vague, I'm not really religious, I'm just spiritual. Now, it even sounds funny to myself to hear that. I'm sure it confused many, and a few may have thought I must be one of those enlightened people you always hear about. Most had no clue what that even meant. When questioned, I replied, it means I don't have to go to a special building or have a special person be a go between on my behalf. I have a direct connection just as you do. And even though I'm a minister, you don't need to talk to God or even connect. You don't need me, rather, to talk to God or even to connect you to spirit, because I have no special powers. Although I've always been a medium, I also know all too well, and the proof is in the many students who have passed through our doors, that you too can develop your abilities if you choose to. So ask yourself what your beliefs are. Do you resonate with a particular religion, or do you also prefer to think of yourself as spiritual? And if so, are you not just a hop, skip, and a jump away from being a spiritualist if you aren't already? As spiritualists, we do have some beliefs that you're welcome to reflect on. If new to spiritualism, I'll just share those with you quickly. One, we are all brothers and sisters to each other. Respect and acceptance of each individual is necessary for the growth of humanity. Two, service to our physical world and service to the spiritual world are both part of our humanity. Three, we are all a part of that infinite energy of spirit, and with that, we have the eternal potential for the continuation of learning, growth, and communication. Four, we have personal responsibility for ourselves and therefore responsibility for all we have done, both positive and negative. Five, physical death is only the doorway to the continuation of our true essence, which is our soul spirit. And six, communication and intelligent dialogue with our soul spirit continues after the event of physical death through mediumship. And having said that, there's no pressure to agree. You may find all, some, or none have meaning to you, which is another difference between religion and spirituality. Religious groups will often send people out to recruit others. Just this past week, I had two women come to my door who said they were from the Church of Latter-day Saints. They were going to hand me a brochure, and I simply said, thank you. I appreciate your time. And although I have strong faith, we walk a different path, as I'm a spiritualist minister and quite content in mine. God bless you both. I felt good about that short interaction. I didn't feel the need to sell my faith, and they no longer felt the need to sell theirs. In fact, they walked away with a smile and thanked me, and it was just lovely to have somebody recognize that and be okay with that. So when I ask you if you consider yourself to be a spiritualist, it's not because I'm trying to recruit you or even convince you, but rather asking you to sit with yourself and evaluate where you are in your spirituality. What beliefs bring you the most peace and makes you want to be more compassionate towards others, not because of fear, but because of love. As I continued to research the differences, I came across this line that I really liked. It said, "The truth is that spirituality is perhaps the most natural thing there is. It's simply your conscious self recognizing that you are more than just a body and that you are a soul with infinite potential." You are a soul with infinite potential. I love that. As a minister, although I stand before you or sit, not recruiting you into spiritualism, I do have to say it's amazing to be a part of a community who have similar beliefs. And it doesn't matter if you don't believe everything I do or if some of yours differs from mine. That's the beauty of this community. In fact, I never want the pressure of convincing you that this is where you belong. I believe that most, if not all of you, have somehow found your way here for yourself, perhaps called to it in some way, and good for you. Always follow your heart and listen to your intuition. Trust that spirit has your back. There is no punishment or reward for your decision, just a sense of peace when you know you're where you should be. Call yourself a spiritualist or not, it matters not to me. And in fact, I enjoy and welcome the diversity. More than anything, I love this community that we've created and walking this part of my own journey with all of you. So I thank you for that. And thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts with you today. And God bless you all.